Welcome to the Fantasy Grill. I'm Anthony K, aka Fluent. You can find me at sports_fluent, IG, Twitter, TikTok, of course, here on the Fired Up Network, and YouTube, Sports Fluent. You can find me anywhere. Anthony K at sportsfluent.com. If you have questions, comments, want us to rate your fantasy team, or give you tips and tricks, easy for me to say, on trades, scenarios, waivers, starts, sits, all of the above. This week, we're going to go through the top five performers in week one and let you know who you should be targeting, who is real and who is fake from these week one performances. We kick it off with, no, not the Undertaker, the most important, or some Taco Bell, the most important position in football. Not necessarily for fantasy, though, but still, we're starting with the quarterback position. No surprise, at number one, Patrick Mahomes played a phenomenal game against the Arizona Cardinals and put up the most fantasy points. Number two, again, no surprise, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, who had some moments where we didn't think he was looking great in that week one matchup against the Rams. But those two guys, listen, you drafted them early, you're starting them every week. We can move on. The number 3 and 4, however, Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Carson Wentz shouldn't be a surprise. When he is healthy, he is one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. An MVP caliber season he was having before his injury in Philadelphia. Obviously, because of injuries, his career has tapered off. But in this Washington offense, he should be a viable, if you're into streaming quarterbacks, because he's not rostered in many leagues, a great streaming option in Carson Wentz. Heck, if you're desperate or in a 2 QB league, you're definitely going with Carson Wentz. Will he finish top 5? No, but he has top 10 QB potential this season, so keep an eye on Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, is an interesting one. People forget that last year, the number one rush offense was the Philadelphia Eagles, behind their quarterback, who led them in rushing, Jalen Hurts. He now has a weapon in A.J. Brown. Hopefully, they can figure out a way to use Smith as well, who's not getting anywhere near the amount of looks he should. But there's an opportunity for him with his legs and with his arm now to get you some quality fantasy points. This is a top 10 QB. If you can go get him and need him or need to stream, absolutely do so. Number 5, again, no surprise. This should be one of your top 5 QBs in fantasy for the year moving forward, is Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. So I spoke about Wentz. Definitely that's someone you should, if you need a QB, pick up, or if you stream QBs, or if you're in a if you're a 2 QB league, Wentz is already taken. But look for him, maybe help out if you have an injury. Perhaps you had Dak Prescott. Wentz is a great person to pick up to replace Dak Prescott. If you have a bye week, etc., Wentz could be that guy. The other one that we've been talking about picking up, and I've been saying this from the preseason, again, 2 QB league, obviously you're taking this guy, but 2, someone who's going to surprise a lot of people, again, because of his ability to move around in the pocket and to use his legs. And he's got some weapons in Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Marcus Mariota. The Atlanta Falcons aren't going to win a lot of games, but they will be trailing in a lot of games, meaning he's going to get some opportunities to score some kind of late touchdowns, throw for some extra yards. Another viable candidate for those that now have lost Dak Prescott. Another QB that's getting a lot of love because we wrote him off, but he just didn't write us back. Yeah, it's because that pass would have been incomplete. Geno Smith. Do not pick up Geno Smith. Yes, he played a good game against a very good game against the Denver Broncos. Do not expect that from him week in and week out. He's just not that guy. All right. Moving to the running back position. We're going to start same thing, same format. Running backs, top 5 performers, who you should add, who you run, Forrest, run. Who you should stay away from. So a big Is it a big surprise? I want to say it was a big surprise to me because I didn't think they were just going to give him the full opportunities in week one, seeing as he came off back-to-back seasons where he was injured. But Saquon Barkley was your number one running back. If he's healthy, he's that guy all season long. Remains to be seen if he can stay healthy for a full season. Number two was Jonathan Taylor. Again, no surprise there. Most of you picked him first overall in your fantasy drafts, and it was deservedly so. Swift, yeah, DeAndre Swift from the Detroit Lions is one that we keep saying is going to be good. He's going to be good. He started off the season well. Is he going to be a top 5 running back this season? No, but he will be a top 15 running back this season. So if you picked up Swift and didn't kind of stretch for him, that's definitely a good pickup. This is an interesting one. We heard rumors of contracts and trade demands. We know Nick Chubb is the starter, but Kareem Hunt is the one that had the big game in week one for the Cleveland Browns, finishing 4th. Kareem Hunt is a great running back. I keep him on every roster where I can get him. Number 5, again, shouldn't be a surprise after what he did last season in this offense where there's opportunities. Cordero Patterson, he gets you yards on the ground, he catches out of the backfield. Heck, he's a converted wide receiver. So that's not a surprise at all. He's going to be a top 10 running back this season as well. Those are guys, excuse me, those are guys that you can get. Those guys are all taken. So who are the ones that people are looking at? Well, they're looking at Hilliard, and thinking, wow, look at his output. He finished so strong in week one. No, that is Derrick Henry's team. That was if you go look at the stat line, you're not going to get a stat line like that again. So do not be fooled by Hilliard. The other one, same type of thing, is Jamal Williams, who more so than Hilliard, I think I might roster him, but don't be fooled by what happened in the Lions game. It's obviously Swift's team. You're going to have 2 running backs that finish with such high hopes, unless if you're desperate and you need someone, fine. But I'm not going there. I'm actually more looking if I can pick them. And I'll just tell you, I waited for my waiver wires to go. I didn't even put a claim for this player because I know a ton of people reached. They fell in love with Pierce of the Houston Texans, and they were reaching for him and drafting him early. And I said, don't do that because you never know. Rex Burkhead was getting the majority of the carries. Even when the Texans were up, it was Rex Burkhead. I think he's your number 1 in Houston. That is the running back, which I did, and you should pick up moving forward. All right. We go now to the air. Justin Jefferson. What did I tell you about Justin Jefferson? I told you he's going to be the number 1 fantasy wide receiver. Week 1, he finished as the number 1 fantasy wide receiver. He is going to mess around with a triple crown this season. And it might be the first time in NFL history we've had back-to-back Kupp and Jefferson back-to-back triple crown winners. He might not get the receptions. That's the only one I'm worried about. Touchdowns and yards, I think he's got locked. But Justin Jefferson was number 1. The Triple Crown winner from last year, Cooper Kupp, was number 2. So again, no surprise there. Devontae Adams, number 3. It's going to be very common to see these 3 at 1, 2, 3. And in fact, Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals at number 4. So really no surprises. Pittman of the Colts is there. That's a top 10 wide receiver in that Colts offense, especially now that they have Matt Ryan there. So expect good things from Pittman. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of great performances last week from some wide receivers, and you might fall in love with the wrong ones. The wrong one is Devin Duvernay of the Baltimore Ravens. Don't be fooled. Again, look at the game. Look at how he finished. It was a great fantasy performance in week 1. Does not look to be sustainable. The 2 other players, however, that I do like, the first one I think I like all season long is Robbie Anderson. He's proven to be a good fantasy pickup. And with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, he's going to get his opportunities. The second one is interesting. Jarvis Landry, I'm saying yes to both Robbie and Jarvis, is an interesting one because the more touches that as Kamara's banged up, but the more touches that Kamara gets out of the backfield, passes, receptions out of the backfield, as Michael Thomas works himself back into it. That's going to take away from Jarvis Landry. But here in the early going, if you can pick up Jarvis Landry for the first few weeks, definitely a good pickup. He will help your team in that flex position. All right. We're going to stay the same format for tight ends. We're going to change a little bit when we go to the kickers and defenses. I will remind you in the comment section here, or Anthony K, that's Anthony, and then the letter K at sportsfluent.com. You can hit me up on IG as well. My DMs are open. Send me your fantasy team if you want them rated like we did last week. If you have waiver wire trades, start 'em, sit 'em questions, we're going to post startums and sit-ems starting this week in week 2 as well at sports_fluent on IG, TikTok, and Twitter. And so let's move to the tight ends. Excuse me. And here's the thing.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
Woo. So he's absolutely right. And if you're going to be the number one tight end in fantasy, you're going to have to beat this man who finished first in week 1, which is Travis Kelce. No surprise there. OJ Howard. I just hate OJ Howard. I hate OJ Howard, but I don't, because I've been so high on OJ Howard since he was a Buck. Every year I kept thinking, okay, OJ Howard, and he finished as number 2 in week 1. I like his current situation now. As long as he stays healthy, if you're streaming tight ends, OJ Howard is a great pickup. Number 3, this one was interesting because I doubted myself, and I shouldn't have done that with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's been moved out of the quarterback. He's now an official tight end. He plays the tight end position, although 2 receptions, for the Saints. He's one you got to keep an eye on. If you need a streamer, if you have some issues at tight end, you can plug him in depending on the matchup. He's going to get receptions. He's going to run the ball. I think he ran for 80 plus yards last week. So Hill is someone to be careful of because they use him in so many different ways. I feel like they're going to focus him though on offense, not so much on the special team. So watch out for Hill if you're in kind of need of a tight end. He's going to have games like this, but it's not going to be consistent. So you got to be careful. But I like Taysom Hill. The next one, Gerald Everett finished 4th, and then Will Disley of the Seahawks finished 5th in the overall. So yes, I'm a yes on OJ Howard. I'm a yes on Taysom Hill. And I am a no, however, on Will Disley of the Seahawks. I'm a no on the Seahawks offense. I'm a no on Geno Smith because I think this was a game that, because it was against Russell Wilson, we saw the best that we're going to see from the Seahawks and that team. All right, so we finish things off. Listen, you want to win your fantasy bucks? You want people to... Yeah, you do. You need to make tweaks to your lineup like these. So we start with at the kicker position. Not that funny. All right, a definite pickup if you're in need. If you're like me, then you had Harrison Butker, or if you stream your kickers, Cade Seed York of Cleveland. He looked good. And Chris Boswell of Pittsburgh. Those are 2 kickers if you need that I would look at picking up as we go streaming. Again, look for those start-em, sit-ems. I will give you your kickers to start and stream that are matchup dependent. But if you're in need like I was, those are the 2 that I would target first to replace the injury to Butker. Although he might still play, there's an ankle injury there, so I want to be careful with my kicker. You never know. The safety came in and was making kicks for the Chiefs, and he looked good. So who knows what's going to happen there? I don't like iffy situations. I want a sure bet, and those 2 are definitely it. When it comes to defenses, if you're like me and you stream defenses because you didn't draft one, there's 2 teams that you should look at picking up if you haven't already, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who after everyone was scared to get them because of the first week matchup against the Bengals, even though they did great. Their next 3 matchups: the New England Patriots, who are not very good, the Cleveland Browns, whose offense is not to be, you're not too worried about them, and the New York Jets. So 3 very favorable matchups. So if you can get a team like Pittsburgh, right, you can set them and forget them for about a couple of weeks, and then we'll tell you who to replace them with. The other one is actually in that list, which is Cleveland. Cleveland still has a very good defense, a very good pass rush. They still have one of the best defensive players in Myles Garrett. And their matchups, the Jets, the Steelers, which you know from the other one, and the Atlanta Falcons. So again, three favorable matchup. Listen, Pittsburgh is a team that, with Najee Harris, you're hesitant, but still Mitch Trubisky, right? He's not a superstar quarterback. Yes, he's better than the guy that we thought, we all made fun of as a Bear, but he's still going to give you opportunities to get your points. So I like Cleveland with the Jets, and then Atlanta. Pittsburgh matchup I don't love, but it's better than some other matchups. So another team in Cleveland where you can get 3 weeks in a row of a team that you're not having to waste kind of waiver wire, depending on if you're doing it by budget or by rotation, depending on how you do your waiver wire picks. You're not going to have to cost you anything because you have those 3 weeks and you can focus your attention on the things you should, which is those running backs and wide receivers, and especially if someone gets hurt. All right. So again, Anthony K at sportsfluent.com. Send me your teams and we can rate them. Send me your waiver wires, your trades scenarios. We'll let you know if it's a good trade. Start them and sit them. Coming to IG, Twitter, and TikTok at sports_fluent. Until next week.